G'day Brisbane. Get ready for the Squash Australian Open. Join us for an exciting showcase of skill and drama right here in our beautiful city.
Good afternoon, welcome along to the Squash Australian Open 2026. It's a gold event on the PSA Squash Tour here for the 10th and the 15th of March. I'm ready to get things underway. A glorious day here, just gone 1:30 local time. We're just going to be going into a few of the ins and outs of the season so far, so plenty to look forward to and a lot to remind you about as well. The beginning of the season obviously started, it's a 10-month season. We're 7 months into that 10-month season now, and 2026 got off to an absolute flyer. Let's remind you of what happened in those platinum events.
Welcome everybody and Happy New Year. Welcome to the 2026 Sprott Tournament of Champions presented by Crowd Street.
Yeah, this was unbelievable from Timmy Brownell. He really held his medal.
Hannah had Singh with a 2-love lead against the world number 7. That was a really, really tricky match for Watanabe to navigate.
Mohamed El Shabani has come back for 2 games to lockdown. This is massive for Siva Sagari Subramanian, reaching your first quarter-final at the TOC.
It's not my biggest win, but compared close the win to my heart.
El Hamami putting all her fans through the ringer with that one. She's now got championship ball out of nowhere. Oh, she's done it! I don't believe it!
Well, it's been 2 years since we had this event. 2024 was the last Windy City Open. And a quick turnaround now back in Chicago. Great to be back here. This is a venue that's seen a lot of great squash over the years.
Yeah, and I like the way they've done the kind of back-to-back, platinum to platinum.
And he's done it. Great one, Marsh. He's done it. I cannot believe he's got a massive upset here.
That's the call. 3 games
What
to
an
2.
entertaining affair. It was
Eliminating
entertaining. The 20-year-old who's gone through the ringer there.
Okay, you can never write off Noor El Shabini. 20 wins in a row here in Chicago.
It's a 3-love victory. Another clean sweep from Mustafa Asal.
To Asal. Let's play.
And this is the ultimate hunting ground for Noor El Shabini.
So plenty to unpack from those platinum events at the beginning of 2026. Lisa Aitken and Paul Hornsby joining us here in the studio in Australia. Let's cast our mind back to those. What are the standout moments for you from the TOC and from the Windy City Open, Lisa?
Yeah, 2 absolute crackers to start the year, isn't it? In the middle of the season when we head over for the American swing on the tour. A couple of standout moments in the women's for me. You had Fairuz Abelkir taking down Amina Orfi. They're rivals from the junior era, still fairly young, but that was a big win, big moment I think for her in terms of her confidence. And then you can't not talk about the comebacks, the continual comebacks of Hania El Hamami. I mean, the deficit that she faced against Weaver, who's just not quite able to get it over the line again. And that massive match with Sherbini and Hania in the semi-final. There was lots to talk about. But yeah, another brilliant tournament, another great start to the year. And but the big names always been there in the final.
Paul, no big names here at the Australian Open, but what would you like to talk about from those 2 platinums? What stood out for you?
I think it's difficult to not look past Mustafa Asal and the squash that he's playing. It's just on a completely different level to what we've seen in recent years. I mean, it comes with controversy. There's always a bit of controversy when Mustafa Asal's in the house, but to just be sailing through tournaments without dropping games, it's just absolutely incredible. And the other thing about that is, of course, the closeness of those 2 tournaments going back to back it makes it even more impressive, really.
Do we like that? Do we like that we've stacked the beginning of 2026 with 2 platinums?
Yeah, I do. I think it then becomes...
To the players?
Well, probably. If you're playing well and you've got that momentum, you kind of don't want that to end. You don't want there to be too long a gap if you're playing really well and you're getting the wins. It then becomes a bit about last man standing, doesn't it? Because we then went to Houston for the Texas Open, where we saw some of the older players. Now, the older players in the men's draw is something that we talk about quite a lot. We're needing these youngsters to come through and push these top players that are now in their 30s, their mid-30s. And we saw that. We did see that in Texas, didn't we? Where the older players, Kareem Abdel-Gawad, Mohammed El Shabaghi, actually went down early into the draw.
Yeah, and what else would you take away from those two platinums and actually the structure of this season as a whole? I mean, next season's a whole different ball game because we've got Olympic qualifiers and things to look forward to. But as far as this season goes and the flow of this season for the players,
yeah. I mean, just coming back to the momentum thing, I think that is huge. It's obviously a bit of a balancing point between, you know, riding the crest of the wave and you know, the winning becoming a habit, as we often talk about as coaches and commentators. But there's also the physical demands on it as well, and you've got the travel thrown in there. Noor El Shabini, just coming back to your original question, she's just the gift that keeps on giving, isn't she? With squash, I mean, you've got to be probably most people's favourite female player, potentially of all time. I mean, to have such a gifted squash brain and squash hands, it's a real treat. Long may it continue. What's
she done to sort of find that form again, that revitalised Shabini that we've all been craving?
Play. Yeah. Literally get the matches under her belt. She spoke a lot about not having a summer. We see all these players take massive time during the summer to not holiday, not rest, but to get the work in. They don't really get that with the season being so packed. A lot of physical work goes in there, a lot of refinement to the technique goes in there. And they hit the season running. They're fresh, they're fit, they're strong. She didn't do that. She decided to take time away from the game, away from the gym, and almost use the start of the season to work her way in, get the matches under her belt, and then it was always a matter of time before it was then going to come and she was going to hit the ground.
Do tournaments like the New Zealand Open, where I know you guys have been, and the Australian Open, do they suffer from not having those top tier players? I know the likes of Paul Cole will be here last week and this week, but no Shabini, no Nuran Gohar. Obviously she's away getting ready to have her first child, and no Hania El Hamami. So are we missing some of those big names in both the men and the women's draw? Well,
I mean, the New Zealand Open was a silver level event, so to have somebody like Paul Cole, who was obviously always going to play in his back garden, wasn't he? But yeah, I mean, it was a shame. I'm sure the Squash New Zealand public would have loved to see an Asal or a Diego there to test him on home turf, but you know, he sort of cantered to the victory last week, which was pretty well received.
Anything to add on that one briefly, Lisa?
Yeah, it just shows like how many tournaments there are on the calendar. You know, we're not seeing this season anyway the top players, Hania El Hamami, Noor El Shabini, play every gold event. Yeah. So if you are going to miss one, you're probably, unfortunately for Australian squash, you're probably going to miss this one because the travel is so significant. So yeah, they've chosen to stay at home. I think at this time in the season, given how much they've played, it's a smart choice.
Great opportunity for the other players, though, I guess, at the same time. We'll get into some of that. We want to talk about the controversy at the Windy City Open. Let's have a look at this. This was the moment the men's final concluded. This is championship ball between Asal and Cole, and plenty to unpack here.
Yeah, for me, this pickup here, obviously this is how the match ended. There's quite a heavy appeal here from Paul Cole, as you would expect. The pickup from Mustafa Asal didn't look clean. There's an opportunity, of course, for the match referee to use his teammate in the VR and just check that. And I think if there's any point in a match that you're going to do that, do it on championship ball. You can see here, as we use the slow-mo, it's really difficult to tell. Now, we've got the technology.
Is it that difficult to tell for the match referee in real time, and why aren't we going to the technology?
Well, he's got it wrong there. Jason Foster, unfortunately for him, is at the centre of refereeing controversy once again. I mean, he's got it wrong twice, really. He's got wrong for, you know, the call was wrong, and he's also got it wrong for not throwing that to the video referee.
Why would they not go to the video referee? I think that's what a lot of people are frustrated about, and certainly Paul Cole. You know, why aren't we using it? Where does the fault lie, and how do we make sure mistakes like that don't happen?
You got to use it. We've got the technology. We've got the ability to really slow the game down, to slow every frame down, and you can actually see. And over again, they can also take as long as they need. Okay, there's no time limit on how long we're going to the VR from. Obviously, you want to have continual play, but it's there, and it's there to use. And there is also communication between the TV production crew and the VR, and it's just utilising that. It has to be done every single time. If it's there, use it, and that opportunity there, the frustration from Paul Cole, rightly so. It's a huge moment.
I mean, obviously Paul Cole's going to be unbelievably frustrated by that, even more so now he's seen it again. I'll tell you who else would be frustrated is the people who are watching it. They would want to see that instantly, straight away again. They would want to see that, and I mean, all other sports you would see replays, wouldn't you?
So what's the solution? It's all very well sort of pointing out the mistakes and the errors, but what is the solution? Where does it lie?
You've got to learn from it. I mean, that for me is a moment that has to be watched back over and over again. What would you have done differently? Now, I know that the referees are great at that. Okay, they meet every morning, they go through the play from the day before, and they review every event as well. That will be definitely looked at, and I hope, for the game's sake, for the players' sake, that we're never in that situation again. I mean, it's a final of a platinum event. There's a lot on the line, there's a lot of points, there's a lot of money, and I know the score line was 2-love 10-7 to Mustafa Sal, but stranger things have happened.
We're not learning though, are we, Paul? It keeps happening time and time again. Viewers are getting frustrated, squash fans are getting frustrated, players are getting frustrated.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to say that Paul would have gone on to win the match, but he's obviously fighting for his. He's hanging on by a thread there. He's 3 match balls down. It was a sort of a bit of a roller coaster of a match from start to finish. But he'll be absolutely fuming about that. And
let's get into the guts of that as well, though. No, you can't blame him because it wasn't a clean match. It was a filthy final.
I just want to say one more thing on that. You're asking what can we learn and what can we do better in the future. I think we need to keep leaning into technology. You know, we're seeing that across other sports. Football, they've got the VAR, and we need to probably rely on AI and exploring all of those options.
It's not that tough a call, though, is it, really? I mean, we saw that, the distance from the racket, the shadow of the ball. There's enough there in the video, watching it once, let alone the number of times you could watch it in a replay.
I mean, Jason Fletcher must have been
Jason Foster.
Sorry.
Yeah.
There is a Jason Fletcher.
Yeah, there is.
He's not a referee. He must have been 100% certain that ball was down, and you saw Paul Cole there pleading with him to have another look. He's saying you may have got that wrong. I mean, should there be a rule where somebody out the back should be able to communicate with Jason Foster, and say, no, mate, that's down.
Well, they have that. They have a constant line of communication with being at these events. You can see the VR, the headset on, the match referee. They're in constant communication about decisions, and that was just one for me that they needed to communicate. Rely on your teammate.
Should we, as broadcasters, be showing that and just saying, look, it is definitively down, but then interrupting the process, if you like, and forcing, you know, our opinion on match referees? Should we be doing that as a broadcaster, as Squash TV?
I think show as much as you can. Show as much as you can, and I would also actually like to hear the communication between the VR and the ref when certain situations are coming and you've got the crowd sitting there waiting on the decision, not sure what's going to happen on the screens. I would like to hear the dialogue as they do in rugby, for example. Yeah. And you can quite clearly see what train of thought they're on, what page they're on, what they're looking for, what they're not looking for. They're talking to each other. I personally would like to hear that come through.
Yeah, there's absolutely no harm in the viewers being privy to that conversation. There's other sports do it.
Language as well, though, isn't it? Sorry to interrupt there. I was going to say about we have clear evidence that shows the ball down.
Yeah.
It's and then you show that and you watch that and Jason watches it, and I don't know who was VR that day, but everyone gets to see it. How we saw it on TV that day.
Yeah. Going back to
Daniel
the match
Greco,
itself,
I think, was in the studio.
You mentioned about there was a lot more controversy throughout the match. There was 2 injury breaks for Mustafa Sal at crucial times in the match. Paul Cole had an 8-5 lead in the second game. He was putting so much physical work into Mustafa Sal, wasn't he? He was breathing heavy. Cole was pushing up the court. He was applying the pressure, and you were thinking, this could be a turn in momentum here. And then boom, he hit the deck, took the time out. And it was 7.5 minutes from the point at which Mustafa Sal hit the deck to when they had the first shot being played. It was 7.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, the recovery time that Mustafa Sal, how much he would have regrouped and get the systems, that explosive movement, he'd have had so much time to regain that. And then later on in the match with the blood flowing out of the knee, that was another 5.5 minute break. So there was 13 minutes of play that was stopped at pivotal moments.
Can't do so much about the blood necessarily because
he keep himself off the deck.
Yes, okay.
Unnecessary.
So is it cheating if a player's sort of going down and almost breaking up the momentum, if you like, because there'll be people out there saying, well, Asal cheated his way through that game, and that had an impact on the match.
Yeah, I mean, it's clever by Asal. We're going to call it cheating. I mean, it's
professional.
It's difficult to
unprofessional.
Accuse somebody of faking an injury. That's very difficult to do, isn't it? But certainly he would have been more than aware of how it would have taken the momentum away from Paul. You know, he's in a rhythm, he's in control, and then all of a sudden nothing for 7 minutes. It's brutal. That's brutal, and he would have been very clever in how he was planning the first rally when he came back on court.
Okay, thanks very much for your input. We're going to crack on with the rest of the show, and I know you guys are on commentary for the first one, so good luck. Let's see what is coming your way here. 8 matches coming your way. Squash Australian Open 2026 gets going today. Day 1, round 1, which means it's round of 32. I think we've got 24 players in action, actually. Alicia Mead versus Grace Gear is our first match of the day. That gets going. And then all the home interest in the second half of the day from sort of 6:30 onwards. You'll get to see the likes of Jessica van der Walt, Joseph White, he'll be in action alongside Madison Lyon and Dylan Molinaro. So 4 Aussie names to look forward to, and 2 more Aussies to welcome to the studio, Jenny Duncalf and Ryan Caskelly. Well, no, you're not Aussie, but you are.
Sorry,
now,
I
aren't
don't
you?
want to interrupt
Residential.
straight away on day 1 there, Michael.
But you are a token Aussie now, aren't you? I know you're from our parts in England. But
I do reside here, yes.
But you must have an Australian passport, don't you know?
I do, just about, yeah, just got one.
Okay, congratulations. Welcome to Squash TV, to both of you, and thanks very much for hosting us here in Australia. Not a bad show.
Oh, unbelievable. I mean, speak for sort of both of us being so excited to be back here. Yet last year was unbelievable. The crowds was sell-out semi-finals and final, and yeah, so special for the sport to be back by South Bank here by the river. Fantastic venue. And
Ryan, not too far for you to commute each day as well, coming up from the Gold Coast.
Yeah, I'm just at the Gold Coast, about an hour away, at the National Performance Centre. So short drive, but beautiful place to have Australian Open. So unbelievable. I wish I could play in it.
and just tell us briefly a little bit about what you're doing now within Australian squash, because you're still heavily involved.
Yeah, absolutely. My role is National Pathways Coach, so working with the juniors, the best juniors in the country, some of which are here volunteering, so putting them to good work, travel around the states, around the country, running camps, taking World Junior teams away, and trying to get some good squash players back, get Australia back on the map.
And Ryan, you've got a couple of players staying with you, I believe, down in the Gold Coast. So they've been doing their match prep for this one with you.
Not Aussies, a couple of Swiss guys,
yeah.
Nicky Mueller and Dimitri. So yeah, they've been here for the last sort of 4 or 5 days training at the National Centre and staying with me. Cooked them up a few steaks and did a bit of training. So yeah, they're just getting used to the conditions, which is quite humid. But yeah, they had a couple of good days.
Excellent Aussie hospitality. Let's remind you what's been happening so far. Just 2 men's winners in the Platinums. This is a gold event here in Australia, Aussie Gold, but your 2 men's winners here at Platinum level. There's a little reminder of it. Mustafa Asal dominating there on Diamond events as well, which was at the Egyptian Open, but only Paul Cole, the only other win there. What's the significance of that? What's the story behind that, do you think then, Jenny?
I mean, I think you can look at it a couple of ways. It's either a very boring story on the men's side with Asal dominating supremely, it has to be said. He's been ridiculously impressive at all the major events. Paul on the screen there, great for this side of the world, for him to be getting some joy, but not much joy in the finals against Asal so far. So it's going to be interesting who's going to sort of come up in the men's game. We've got Zachariah and Jonah Bryant here in the top 4 seeds this week, and also Joel, who we've kind of missed, I would say. Not waiting, he's doing well, but getting back to full fitness, and then also Diego's come back in the mix, but definitely dominated by Asal at the moment.
Great opportunity here, Ryan, for someone to maybe get up there alongside Paul Cole in the men's final, and no Mustafa Asal, so I guess that does leave the door open for somebody.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect opportunity for anyone, especially these younger guys coming through, Jonah and Zachariah. I think they'll be dark horses this week. They're pretty gritty and want to get up those rankings, so I think they're going to probably give it to the older boys. So yeah, we'll see what plays out.
Same sort of dominance in the women's half as well, with Noor El Shabini and Hania El Hamami dominating those trophies, as you can see there, and the various tournaments that they've picked up. Yeah, the Diamond and the Platinum events from the season so far. So what's our takeaway from those 2 winners and their seasons they're having?
Yeah, fantastic for them, but back to this event, like Ryan said, it's a huge opportunity for someone outside of the top 4 to actually get a big win and see if that can give them confidence for the rest of the season. Obviously, massive events coming up and trying to chip away at the dominance of Hania and Shabini.
And none of the defending champions are here. No Kareem Gawad and no Olivia Weaver. So again, we're going to see hopefully a new name on the trophy for someone, Ryan.
Yeah, again, it's another great opportunity. I think the women's game is just unbelievable at the moment. I only started watching squash really, again, properly for the last couple of years because I'm involved in the high performance, but I only watch the girls now. It's like unbelievable. 80-minute matches every time they get on the court, and it's just true squash and a lot of heart out there. So yeah, I mean, especially for this tournament, to open Slava really. A couple of big results last week, so yeah, anyone can take it down, I feel.
So what's the state of the men's game then, if we're to reverse that, and why is that not maybe as attractive to watch as a sports fan?
I think there's a lot of injuries as well. Like there's a couple of guys in the top 10 that I feel that could really hurt us all, like Ibrahim, and he keeps falling and doing his shoulder, and Diego's quite not his 100% fitness. So they're the kind of guys I feel that can really trouble us all. But I think Paul, I was just chatting to him just recently, just 10 minutes ago, and he's got a couple little secrets in his under his sleeve that he's...
Come on, we can't have you on the show, and you have to share those.
Just a couple
little
technique things that he's on the right path, because he needs to change sort of what he's doing against him.
Yeah.
His game against everyone else, he can get it done, but I think he needs just that little bit more attacking, put the ball away a little bit more when he gets his opportunities around the mid-court. Otherwise, Asal's just too strong and just too good. So.
Anything to add on the state of both the men's and the women's game there, Jenny?
Yeah, I mean, speaking from the women's perspective, having played for 18 odd years or something, when I watch the girls play now, it's just absolutely unbelievable. The athleticism, skill level, obviously, the introduction of the lower tin from 2015 has really excelled the women's game. And it kind of ebbs and flows, men's and women's sport all the time. So if the players that Ryan's talking about really get back to 100%, then that's going to make things more exciting in the men's.
Okay, as I said earlier, we're 7 months into a 10-month season. We've just come from New Zealand, and let's remind you of what happened there. It was an all-Gillis final there between the two sisters, with Tina Gillis coming out on top against Naila Gillis and taking the victory there, and Paul Cole doing the job against Zakaria as well in the men's final. So just your takeaways from both those women's and men's finals.
Yeah, very contrasting finals. The Gillis sisters, obviously emotional affair playing your sister, and it was almost 80 minutes of high quality, very tough squash. Paul, on the other hand, winning his third New Zealand Open title, so a hat-trick for him. He loves playing on a home ground, and weirdly, I know we're in Australia, but last year he lost in the final, but the support really was with him. He had a different run through to Zakaria. He sort of ran out of legs after an absolutely massive match against Joel Macon in the semis. Both those two are in the same half of the draw, bottom half of the draw. This time round this week, they had a 125-minute semi-final, so it was tough for the 18-year-old to back up against Paul Cole in the final. So different runs in that event for the finalists.
And then Ryan as well. What any points there on the men's and the women's final? What we might bring into the Australian Open from the New Zealand Open?
Yeah, I think Paul will come in, really fresh and confident, because as Jenny said, had a pretty easy run through compared to the other side. So I'm looking at him for this tournament to perform well. I think he really wants to get an Australian Open and get the double down under. On the girls' side, I think Tinny's playing really well. I've watched her over the last sort of year, and she's really progressed the game a little bit. Naila's sort of been up and down a little bit, so yeah, I think Tinny's going to be in for the title. So.
It's a long way to come, isn't it? To come to the Southern Hemisphere, to play the New Zealand Open, to play the Australian Open. What's in it for the players? Why should they come down here? And where does the incentive lie, I guess, if you've got events like the Optasia Championships coming up in sort of the Northern Hemisphere? So, what draws the players down these days?
I think to play somewhere new. I mean, if you look around here, there's going to be loads of people. The atmosphere in New Zealand, word sort of spread of how good it was last year, how good this event was last year. And also for the sort of outside of the top four, it's big points if you win the gold events. It's great points to try and get into that top four. And interestingly, not all of them have played New Zealand and Australia. Most of them do, but we've got Siva here as top seed in the women's event, Steinman in the men's, and Sana Ibrahim. So they're the other three extras since last week in New Zealand.
Okay, we'll come back to you for some more points in a minute. Let's just remind you of what happened this time last year here at the Australian Open.
Welcome to Brisbane, Australia and the 2025 Easy Times Brewing Co. Australian Open.
It took 80 minutes for Augustus Hill to hold off Bernard Jam.
Another day at the office with a 17-year-old into another final.
It was Cole almost took the 2-1 lead, but it was Goad that clinched that game and somehow managed to find a way back in that fourth game. Olivia Weaver, take a bow. She should be extremely proud of herself, what she's achieved here.
So missing both defending champions, no Gowad, no Weaver, so who does that open the door for?
Well, everyone else.
Yeah, the rest of the world.
To state the obvious, but just thinking back to last year, they both had to come from behind, Paul and Olivia, 1-love down, and watching the highlights of Gowad was almost gave up in that fourth game. So at the time it was a bit of a shock that he somehow managed to do that. I don't think Paul, if he reaches the final, will make that same mistake twice, but yeah, everyone outside of those defending champions has got a chance.
Ryan, where does the charge come from? I know you alluded to sort of Paul Cole, but who else could be in there for the mix this time in Australia?
As I said, the younger boys I really like, Zachariah and Jonah.
What is it specifically about their game that can challenge the likes of Paul Cole?
Jonah, I love how his movement, how he hits the ball, is attacking. Zachariah's a bit different, like mentally ridiculous for his age. I've never seen it like it. I don't even know how it's possible at that age to do what he's doing. Technically a little bit different. There's a couple of things I think he needs to work on still to get to that top level. But he's 17, 18. He's doing unbelievable. So yeah, I'd watch out for those two boys. I think they're definitely the dark horse. So.
And from an Australian perspective, I guess the second half of the day quite interesting today here on day one from 6:30, all the local and home talent in action.
Yeah, of course, we've got 4 Australian wildcards. Unfortunately, Alex Hayden had to withdraw, but that makes way for Jess Vanderbilt. The two girls are actually from Brisbane. Their club is where the rest of the rounds are being played on the hardback. So unbelievable opportunity for the 4 Aussies. They're up against it, but hoping we'll get a few local supporters in. There's been a huge buzz about the place. Brisbane people love their sport, so hopefully they can make some headway, as Oliver Dunbar did as a wildcard in New Zealand last week. He got the win, so who knows?
They'll be buzzed, won't they, Ryan? Coming into this arena, I think we're expecting sort of 1,200 people here by the end of the week at least, and hopefully the crowd shows up tonight.
I mean, this is as best as it gets for them. I mean, it's unbelievable playing in this venue. Like, doesn't get better as the Australian Open. So yeah, I really hope they just take it on and just get stuck in and give it to the higher ranked opponents. And I think we could see some good squash tonight. So watching and coaching.
Okay, we're going to be touching on some Aussie greats as well, and players that have sort of shone in the past. And here's one just to get us started, Cameron Pilley, who was obviously just an absolute star back in the day, and some of his vital statistics. Ryan, just talk us through some of these and some of his highlights.
Yes, good mate of mine, doubles partner. Yes, highest ranking 11. I feel like he should have probably been a top 10 player. He beat a lot of really good players in that top 5. Just a tough era, probably consistency. Probably just got him in the end. But yeah, made the final, Hong Kong, 3 times Commonwealth Game gold medalist, Super Series runner-up. Doesn't get better than that, does it? So
does it?
Well, it does actually.
For an Australian these days, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad going. Sorry, Pilley, but there's definitely Australians. I mean, the list is just endless. Previous world champions, and this event started in 1979. Jeff Hunt, obviously, absolute legend. Vicky Cardwell won the first title. Michelle Martin and Vicky Cardwell have won this event 7 times. Rodney Martin 5 times. So yeah, it's unbelievable, the record, and it's just fantastic to have an event like this again here on such sort of historic Australian soil, and trying to get this game bigger again around the country.
We're going to get into it more throughout the week as well, but obviously Brisbane going to be hosting the 2032 Olympics, squash in the 2028 Olympics for the first time. So I guess it's bidding, and we'd love them to have that success and a repeat performance at the Olympic Games.
Oh yeah, I mean, amazing that we're in 28, and there's a lot of focus around here to try and get into 32, and that's part of why this event is on. Squash Australia have done a fantastic job with the event last year, this year, and we've also got World Masters, so a huge effort to get us in there if possible.
Okay, day one, let's get your winners when we get to the end. Who's going to win the tournament? 2 names, a male and a female, please, from you, Ryan, first.
Paul.
Yeah.
And Tinny.
Okay, Ryan and Tina. And what about for you, Jenny?
I've gone really exciting and gone for top seeds, Paul and Siva.
Okay, but a bit of a difference there in the women's half of the draw. Okay. Listen, thanks very much. Enjoy your time in the commentary box with us here. The Australian Open about to get underway. If you've been watching us here on the YouTube channel, thanks very much for joining us. If you haven't got your Squash TV subscription, go and get it quickly now and join us for the main event over on Squash TV. See you back very shortly.
G'day Brisbane. Get ready for the Squash Australian Open. Join us for an exciting showcase of skill and drama right here in our beautiful city.
It is a glorious